All right, today we are diving into the epic 14-year saga behind one of the world's most iconic landmarks. I mean, this is a story of just incredible ambition, unthinkable tragedy, and the kind of innovation that literally changed the world's skyline forever. And it all kicks off with a really powerful question. But before we can even talk about the triumph, we have to start with the cost. Because for the people who actually built this marvel, the dream of connecting a city, well, it came with a truly devastating price. So, where does it all begin? It starts with one man's seemingly impossible dream, a visionary designer, John A. Roebling. He looked at the churning East River that separated Brooklyn and Manhattan, and he didn't see an obstacle. No, he saw an opportunity for pure greatness. And his plan, look, it wasn't just ambitious. It was completely audacious. He envisioned a structure so grand, it would be a true wonder of the modern world. Something soaring higher and spanning further than any bridge had ever done before. I mean, just imagine that. But then, in just a cruel, cruel twist of fate, right as the project gets the green light, a freak accident crushes Roebling's foot. And weeks later, he dies from tetanus. The whole dream could have died right there with him. But his son, Washington Roebling, a really skilled engineer in his own right, he stepped up to take his father's place. And so, the work would begin. And that work didn't start up in the air. Oh no. It started deep, deep beneath the riverbed. See, to build towers that could practically touch the sky, they first had to go down into a dark, dangerous, and pretty much unknown world. The key to all of this was a piece of technology called a caisson. And to really get your head around the sheer scale of this thing, I want you to just imagine a multi-story building made of wood, flipped completely upside down, and then sunk to the bottom of the river. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Okay, so here's how it worked. They would pump compressed air into this giant chamber to keep the river water out, basically creating a dry space for men to work in. These workers, they were called sandhogs, and they would go down into this pressurized bubble and dig out mud and rock literally by candlelight, all while the massive weight of the stone tower being built on top of them pushed the whole thing deeper and deeper towards bedrock. Absolutely wild. But this brand new technology had a terrifying, and I mean terrifying, side effect. Workers would come back up from the depths suffering from excruciating joint pain, paralysis, sometimes even death. They called it caisson disease. It was this mysterious ailment that we now know as the bends. What was happening was the rapid change in pressure was literally forcing nitrogen bubbles to form inside their bloodstream. The human cost was just staggering. More than 20 men died from this agonizing condition, and so many more were left permanently disabled. Progress, as it turned out, was being paid for with their bodies. And this invisible killer, it didn't discriminate. It was about to claim its most high-profile victim yet, and in doing so, threatened to derail the entire project for good. So Washington Roebling, being the dedicated chief engineer he was, spent hours and hours down in the caissons right alongside his men. One day, after working tirelessly to put out a fire that had broken out in one of these huge wooden structures, he came back up and he collapsed. He was struck down by a crippling case of caisson disease. I mean, the tragedy of his situation was just immense. The man in charge of building the world's greatest bridge was now a prisoner in his own apartment, in constant pain, and the only way he could oversee his life's work was by looking through a telescope aimed out his window. Unbelievable. So with the chief engineer down, the project was in total crisis. It really seemed like the bridge, just like the Roebling men before it, was doomed. But from the shadows of this tragedy, a totally unlikely hero was about to emerge. The question was on everyone's mind, right? The project was way too complex, the politics were way too treacherous. Who could possibly step into Washington Roebling's shoes and command the respect of all those engineers and politicians? Well, the answer was someone that absolutely no one in the 19th century would have ever expected. His wife, Emily Warren Roebling. At first, she was really just a messenger, carrying her husband's notes back and forth to the construction site. But she very quickly became so much more than that. She completely immersed herself in the project. We're talking studying advanced mathematics, material strengths, cable construction, the whole shebang. For the next decade, she was the bridge's driving force. She was the on-site chief, the lead negotiator, and the absolute unwavering link between her husband's brilliant mind and the physical wonder that was rising over the river. And one of the key decisions she helped champion was a truly revolutionary one. See, instead of using traditional iron for the massive support cables, the Roeblings insisted on a new material: steel. It was a bit of a gamble, sure, but the advantages were just undeniable. Steel was lighter, it was more flexible, and, get this, it was an incredible 6 times stronger than iron. This was a choice that would go on to define the future of engineering. And the sheer scale of this innovation, it's staggering. Each of the 4 main cables that hold the bridge up is actually a bundle of 5,434 individual steel wires, all spun together high above the East River. It was a web of unprecedented strength. So after 14 long years of struggle, of sacrifice, and just relentless perseverance, the impossible dream was finally becoming a reality. I mean, that journey spanned 14 grueling years. Think about it. From sinking that very first caisson way back in 1869, to raising those iconic Gothic towers, to finally connecting the roadway in 1883. Every single one of those years was a battle against time, against politics, and against the very laws of physics themselves. And then the day came. On May 24th, 1883, the Brooklyn Bridge opened to the public. And guess who was the first person to cross in a carriage? It was Emily Warren Roebling, and she was carrying a rooster as a symbol of victory. It was so much more than a bridge. It was a monument to the human spirit. And its legacy was just immediate and immense. For 20 years, it held the title of the world's longest suspension bridge. It unified a rapidly growing New York City. And of course, it still stands today as this powerful testament to the Roebling family and to every single worker who risked their life to build it. You know, it was a project that seemed totally impossible, a project that demanded immense sacrifice. But in the end, it connected people, and it changed the world. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. What is our generation's Brooklyn Bridge? What's the great, seemingly impossible project of our time that demands that exact same level of resilience?